Welcome to STEAM State of Mind, your favorite source for all things STEAM education.
STEAM State of Mind.
This isn't just science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. It's a state of mind, a different way to approach education in the classroom.
STEAM State of Mind.
Enjoy these conversations with educators, students, and community members as we explore what it means to be in a STEAM state of mind.
STEAM State of Mind.
Hi there, I'm Kari.
And I'm Bern.
And this is Kettering City School STEAM State of Mind podcast. Great to be back here in the seat here with you, Bern.
I know. I'm really looking forward to this conversation that we're going to be having today. And I'm really excited about some of our being able to discuss our partnerships that we have in the community.
And speaking of those partnerships, we have with us today Chelsea Holmes. Chelsea is a scheduling coordinator with Boonshoft Museum, which is one of our wonderful partners here in the Kettering schools. Chelsea, tell us a little bit about your position with Boonshoft.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the scheduling coordinator for the education department. So basically any teacher or educator who would want to schedule a field trip or some kind of a workshop with us, they would talk to me. And my whole job is to bring people in to explore the museum and to bring students to participate in different activities with science, technology, engineering, and math, and just appreciating all of the great stuff that we have to offer.
So, I mean, we're talking about STEM or STEAM education, and the Boonshoft sounds like you guys really, I know you guys support it, but so we have, this podcast is called STEAM State of Mind, and so like the state of mind is trying to have everybody understand that having that state of mind where everything is integrated and everything is connected in some way. We don't, it's not all in silos, and getting the kids and experiencing these highly engaging projects or highly engaging experiences where they can use their critical thinking, their problem-solving skills, their collaboration with each other. All these different things are like the portrait of a graduate. So how does the Boonshoft Museum support or lend a hand in supporting the STEAM state of mind?
Yeah. Well, one thing I always like to tell people is Boonshoft, it's marketed as a children's museum, but I always call it more of a family museum. It is designed for people of all ages, and it integrates a lot of different disciplines because originally Boonshoft was the Dayton Museum of Natural History. And initially it was just a collection of a variety of artifacts from lots of different disciplines. So we have examples from anthropology, archaeology, biology, zoology. We have different, hands-on activities that we focus on with chemistry and astronomy and physics. So it's not just coming in and getting a lesson in one particular type of discipline, but you kind of get to come in and experience a little bit of everything, which is one thing that I think is really unique about our museum in particular compared to some other places that we have both in Ohio and then across the country. And when we look at the types of programs that we offer to the public, it's all geared towards letting different ages of learners experience things together. So we're really encouraged to have parents and guardians participate with their children and with their learners, rather than it being really divided out by age or ability level, so to speak. We also, when we have field trips come in, we really focus on pulling some of those 21st century skills. So looking at problem solving and critical thinking by encouraging them to work together to try to solve problems. We aim for everything to be very interactive and to get kids to start thinking about the actions that they can take in order to then solve problems related to a variety of topics, whether that is, exploring ancient fossil artifacts that they might, be digging up, or, trying to come up with an idea about what might happen if we mix these two chemicals together. What could be the result if we try out this set of steps to test a hypothesis? So I think we fit into the STEAM state of mind because, again, we have
just a little bit.
We have such a diverse history ourselves.
I should have had her define STEAM state of mind. Yeah,
That kind of is a definition right there.
Yes.
That's awesome.
What are So students coming to Boonshoft, tell us kind of what does a typical field trip kind of look like? You talked about interactive activities and things like that. What are some of the what does that look like for kids that travel to the museum? What are some of the engaging experiences they're gonna have when they're there as part of that field trip?
So the base field trip we start with, we call a self-guided tour. And effectively that is a special group rate where groups come in and they get general admission access to the building at a discount. And they get to set their own pace for the day. So some teachers and educators who are really familiar with the building, they like to set their own itinerary. And they're like, I already know what places I want to hit. I know exactly what parts I want them to focus on. Occasionally they will make their own resources and they just have a day in the museum. For a lot of our really young learners, they just are excited to be in a new place and get to see all the cool stuff that we have. For older learners, occasionally it's kind of getting them to focus on some of the more intricate artifacts where, they're needing better literacy skills to really understand the information that's given. And then we also provide what we call add-ons. So add-ons are, they usually run 30 to 60 minutes and they can take place on site in a private location. And teachers can set these up to focus on specific themes. All of the information is on our website, but basically we set up these workshops to really dive into specific content areas. So it ranges, like I said, through all different branches of science, where we have an educator who is leading them through hands-on activities that really focus on one specific content area. And then after they're done with that workshop, they then have the rest of the day to explore. So for some teachers, they like having that structure in there. I think they kind of feel like they're getting something really engaging and involved out of the experience rather than just, it's a day to play.
Right.
But again, for some teachers who it's their first time that they've ever been to the Boonshoft, they might find that to be a little bit limiting where they want to give the students as much time as possible to see what all we have to offer. We also have what we call STEM to You workshops, which are outreach programs. And that's where we send an educator and materials out of the museum to a teacher's classroom or to a specific location. And we can lead the same type of experience, but at their site. And that's a really cool feature that makes it accessible to maybe schools that their transportation is a little inconsistent, or they don't necessarily have enough funding to pay for each individual child to come to the museum and do the workshop, but they have enough funding to pay for a 1-hour session for their class to get to do that all together. And then, of course, we also have been in the distance learning game for a long time. Even before things happened with the pandemic, we were offering distance learning opportunities where we can run these hands-on experiences virtually. And we also offer options where we send materials to the school ahead of time. So our educator will be teaching through Zoom or through Google Meets, but then the students are getting to do it hands-on as they're watching and following along with the screen, which is a really cool thing that I hadn't even considered trying to attempt before I joined Boonshoft. That just was, that blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, it blew a lot of people's mind in throughout the country.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you're talking about is what we have been doing here in Kettering with the Boonshoft and some of these things. So can you tell us a little bit about the collaboration that we have worked together here specifically with Kettering? Because it's been such a fun journey to go, to be a part of with the Boonshoft and the Kettering City School District. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So that's a really exciting thing that we have gotten to do, not just with Kettering, but with other local Dayton schools, is we have these contracts effectively where the schools approach us and say, we want to use you for a series of lessons, and we want you to keep coming back to our location, or we want to keep bringing students to your locations to get to experience these hands-on activities. So far we've been working with the 4th grade.
Yes.
And the idea was to kind of use them as our test subjects before we kind of expand to other grades. And I think what we organized was, I think it was 3 or 4 days of the STEM to You outreach, where our educators came and ran programs for those 4th grade classes at Oakview. And then I think there were 2 days where the 4th graders came to us. So they had one day that they came to Boonshoft and I think they had a workshop with that day. Yeah,
we had a workshop, and then students had the time. So we sent 3 classes
Yes.
there in that one day. And so there was each class took an hour, and then while the other classes did a tour, or they had like a scavenger hunt kind of thing that they had to work through.
Yeah. And then I think we also, I can't remember if this already passed or if it's upcoming, but there was also a day where they were going to the Sunwatch Archaeological Park site.
They went to Sunwatch, and we got the kits afterwards where they had to build their own huts or whatever, the buildings and structures, and that was cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that one was in partnership with the the National and Ohio Writing Project, which was a grant that we were working with for a variety of schools to basically help fund field trips for them in exchange for them, the teachers' participation in reviewing some curriculum materials and testing out a few writing prompts. We're trying really hard to incorporate some language arts into our Sunwatch site, since that area is just so beautiful and lush, and it's just like a great opportunity to generate a lot of great writing, whether it be narrative or just descriptive nonfiction. So that was a really cool opportunity. And I think the fourth graders did a little bit of that writing.
Yes, they did.
While they were there after getting a tour of the village. So
yeah. Well, and what's really cool that if we go back a step, even before we started, it was a collaboration where we actually sat down and talked about, okay, what are the needs what does the Kettering City Schools need in the fourth grade that we want to adjust our program? They just didn't hand us something that said, Boonshoft didn't say, okay, here, this is what we have to offer.
Something
now you
that's going to enhance what we're doing with our fourth graders.
And they adapted their curriculum and their programs, and they even came up with a couple of whole new things just to meet the needs that we have. And we're actually making big connections with the Wonders program that we have in Kettering, and the language arts aspect, because you're talking about increasing the language arts. And so we're taking all of those essential questions and different things and connecting it to them and the standards and all of this. And it's just been a great collaboration. And Boonshoft has been right on board with it. And one of the things that they absolutely love, and I think this was totally new with, like Boonshoft just came up with it for Kettering, and you're hoping to use it in other schools, was the taking evidence from different, like how governments are formed and how governments use different, you have your Department of Energy, you have your Department of whatever, all these different agencies or departments that then they had to solve a problem that department would have solved.
Like a real life problem.
Yes, to solve a larger problem. We put all the information and data together to be able to solve a larger problem. And the kids loved it. It was great.
yeah, I had forgotten about that one, but we do a program that we call TRASH, which is an acronym that stands for Taking Responsible Action at School and Home. Something like that. And it's a partnership along with the Montgomery County and Miami County solid waste districts, where they provide us with some funding to teach students about, recycling and looking at the waste that we put into the earth, and then how we can reduce the waste that we produce. And we'd originally, I think, presented that. And then we went, well, wait a minute. I feel like we could take this a couple steps farther, because it's not just, waste management that impacts the environment. We also have to look at energy. We have to look at transportation. And so we started there, and then Kettering gave us the opportunity to kind of push our envelope and say, okay, well, how much farther can we really go with this? And what can we really integrate to help these fourth graders start to really think about how the community is impacting the environment that we live in?
Yeah, and how the government and the different departments and all this stuff, how they work together, collaborate together to make the community better. And the kids, they really picked up on that. And so it was really awesome.
Kind of sounds to me, Bern, like this is an amazing partnership for you as well as our STEAM coach and a teacher. What are some things you've learned with your interactions with the educators that you're seeing and collaborating with from Boonshoft?
Well, Boonshoft, right away, they addressed as more of, okay, here's what we can provide. It was like, okay, well, what do you need? And it opened up that hole where you don't get that with a lot of different organizations, probably because the timing and all this stuff. It's like, okay, this is what you have. And so learning from them about what all the things that they had to offer, and yet the creativity and having that STEAM state of mind of being able to integrate all of the different resources that we just can't have, or nor should we have, like with the animals you guys brought in and stuff, and so I learned so much about the being able to find the resources and having a height that those things are in our community. We just need to collaborate together like we did with Boonshoft to bring them to our students' experiences. These kids just shine when they have experiences and they grow with it, and it makes the language arts and the writing and the math and all of these things come alive. There's a purpose, and they understand that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and Chelsea, I love the way you said that, Boonshoft saw a need to incorporate, which people might not think of when they first think about a museum, but the whole language arts into what you're teaching and helping students to learn about, whether it's, people from thousands of years ago or how you recycle or whatever it is, but to incorporate that language arts into that is so amazing. And kudos to you guys for realizing that, because that might not even be an expectation of a children's museum that you do that. But what is it that made you guys realize that that's important to make that a part of, and which is exactly what we're talking about here, that whole state of mind that is just as important as learning, the technology or the math or the science.
Or the periodic table memorization.
Yeah.
Well, I think one big thing that always blows my mind, even now working at Boonshoft is for the past year or so, is just all the different knowledge that all of our staff bring. And particularly with our education team, is they just have such a breadth of knowledge. Their training is not in pedagogy the way that formal educators is. They're learning from being out at archaeological digs. They're used to studying in different ways in different fields. And so we just have a team of educators that are very passionate about developing new curriculum based on their interests. And I think that our directors are really encouraging about empowering our educators, like, hey, you really want to do something about this topic? Go for it. Like, we are sure that there will be an audience for it, but you show us what you've got, and then we'll figure out a way to work it in. So I think a big part of just coming up with all those different factors is just the different experiences that our team has. And I also think, too, the fact that we are such a diverse location and we're not really stuck in one particular box also kind of lets us try things. And then we can just kind of figure out, how exactly it fits and how it fits along with our STEAM state of mind and with our vision as an organization and an institution. Because like I said, it's not just for school age kids. It's not just for adults. It's a place where everybody should be able to come in and take something away. And I think that's what makes it super exciting to have groups come and visit us, is just seeing people of all ages getting involved and building these memories that they'll go back and they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember we talked about this, and they'll tie that into their classroom stuff, or they'll remember it at the dinner table, or when they go out on another trip to another location and they can think of things that they see that are similar between what they experienced at Boonshoft or Sunwatch, and then they go to these other places and they start to see similar things or start to build those connections.
So you're talking about all these different places at Boonshoft and all these different experiences and all this stuff. So I'm curious, what is your favorite part of Boonshoft? What is your passion?
So, when I started, I was a volunteer in the live animal department. So I was helping take care of a lot of the diets and the dirty work to clean up after the animals, because we know how messy humans can get. Somebody's got to do it. So I got to start out there. So I learned that I could never be a zookeeper. That's a level of just physicality that I personally just could not do day in and out. So I have so much respect for our live animal team, but I love getting to hear about the ways that they enrich the animals' lives and the way that the animals enrich our visitors' lives. The other big one that I'm a big fan of is our Beezer Room of Wonders, which is an exhibit that just reopened back in September, and it showcases all of those different branches of science that I mentioned to bring all of this diverse history from our society and put it in one place. And so I've been running a study in there for visitor engagement. And so I've spent a lot of time in that room. And it's one of those things where you come back every time and you notice something different. And the way that it's divided up and organized, like you could go in, multiple times during the same visit or multiple visits and keep finding something new every time and keep learning something new every time. So that space is just really, really cool to me. And then, of course, I also like to plug Sunwatch because I don't think a lot of people realize that it's a site that is connected with Boonshoft because they're physically separated from each other. But we've just done a lot of work in the last couple of months to restore some of that site and to add to the ambiance. And history's never been my thing, but being out there and hearing some of my coworkers who have history with archaeology and anthropology just talk about this civilization that lived there so long ago.
You can't help but be fascinated.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing.
And to
it
have
just
that
takes you back.
resource right here in our community is absolutely amazing. I mean, that's wonderful. And I'm going to direct this to both of you guys because as I'm hearing you talk, and I know I've been to the museum with my kids and with my grandkids, and it's kind of the epitome of that whole thing that you're having so much fun you don't even realize how much you're learning. Why is it important that we make learning fun? Why it's okay to incorporate the fun into learning, whether it's science, technology, engineering, the arts, language arts, whatever. Why is that so important? And I'm going to direct that to both of you from your both different perspectives.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's the idea that people are going to protect things that they care about. So when we give them these interactive, face-to-face, hands-on experiences in these unique places, like Boonshoft or like Sunwatch, or even just going to one of our metro parks and getting to be out in the Ohio landscape, right? When you build those experiences with people, they build an attachment, and they really start to have this sense of their place, not just in their own community, but also their space in, North America, globally. And so I think just continually making those experiences accessible helps create experiences and memories that then help them feel like that place is important to them. So I think should be, I think, the goal of any sort of educational experience is helping them make a personal connection with that lesson or that subject matter or that place, and then helping them kind of foster that into kind of their own internal sense of who they are and what they have to offer their community.
Well, and I'm going to piggyback off of that because what she was just saying is where we want the students to be able to be engaged in something that they'll go out on their own and want to learn more. We want them to be excited about their education. And I'm sorry, but, there's a lot of boring things out there that we do as teachers, and the kids are bored to death. And we know through Hattie's research that boredom is a very big negative, it's a negative factor in a student's education. And, there's so many skills, and I get it. There's so many skills and there's so many things that have to be done. But we also, we can make education engaging. We can make it fun. We can take those experiences and teach those skills and use those experiences to get the kids engaged in some of the boring stuff, that we have to do. Because, I don't know about you two, but when I'm a kid and I think about the things that I learned or my experiences in the elementary school especially, I remember those highly engaging activities. I don't remember the workbook pages. I don't remember the drill and kill. I remember I can say, I remember when we did this activity or we did this experiment or we did this whatever project-based learning.
And you can probably, as an adult, now tie it to a learning experience, not just
Oh,
a
yeah.
fun experience, but something that
Oh,
you
it was
learned.
learning. And I learned from, and I think about, oh my God, that's how I learned. That's why I'm interested, or that's why, because of those experiences. And so that's why I think, having Boonshoft in our backyard, which is so amazing, and having it as a partner in the collaboration, is that they can provide the experiences that we naturally can't provide because of whatever, we don't have sun watch at our Kettering schools.
You don't have a lot of archaeologists
Yes,
just running around
exactly.
your halls. Future archaeologists maybe, but
Yes,
not
hopefully.
working and experienced
and that is
archaeologists.
something else that's really important too, is that what Boonshoft and they get to be able, the students, the learners, be able to see the people who are working there and the people who are engaged there and the people who are having fun there. These are their careers, like the archaeologists and stuff. And this
Yeah.
is like something that they want to do. So
I
it's
like
career
that.
education
How do I
too.
get to be an
Exactly.
archaeologist?
Well,
or-
I love your, what you're doing. What is that? It's a great career education connection too. So I just hate seeing kids bored. They don't like being bored.
Well, I think this partnership clearly is not one built on boredom. It sounds like it's built on a lot of fun and excitement for our kids. Are there any plans for expansions at Boonshoft, or continued support of STEAM? Not just for Kettering students, but all of our Miami Valley students. Are there any new things on the horizon at Boonshoft?
So a lot of what we're doing now that we're kind of back to pre-COVID operations with our department, a lot of it is refining things that we tested out, and now we're like, okay, now we're in a phase where we can kind of strengthen some potential weak points and make it something really great. One of the big ones that we're refining now is what we call Museum in Motion, which is a full day, full school, assembly style, hands-on experience where our educators put on a stage show and they lead students through a bunch of different stations through a variety of different science topics. And so we kind of tested it out a little bit last year, and now we're starting to strengthen our original model and now start to look at developing some different opportunities, like one that focuses on animal habitats. We're working on another one with some other local Dayton schools to come up with a topic related to water and the way that the water cycle and the natural resource of water is so important, not just in the Dayton community, but all over the world. So that's a really big thing that we're doing. Another big thing is we're really hoping to build more connections like Kettering, where there are other local schools that would want to be part of, I keep saying a contract, but effectively, an ongoing, continual collaboration. We are very, very passionate about doing that. We work with a lot of charter schools in the area where we do that, and we go out and provide continual experiential learning for them throughout the year. And as much as we love that, we would really love to be able to do that more locally and build those relationships with our own community so that schools are benefiting from that resource and they can keep bringing that to their students throughout an entire year or a series of years to just kind of keep building on that knowledge. So we're always looking for more schools and districts that would be interested in doing that. And we always love the opportunity for them to give us something new and say, go for it, go crazy. Show us what you got, and get to come up with.
That's been fun.
Yeah, that's just, I think, their favorite thing. Like I said, we've just got such passionate educators who just love getting to kind of throw their own spin on things and make something really unique that our learners maybe wouldn't get from other places.
Yeah, well, it's also. So we collaborate on, well, okay, this is kind of what we're doing. Here are the standards. Here's the Wonder's essential questions. This is that, or whatever. And then we kind of talk about it a little bit. Well, then they go back, Boonshoft goes back and they come up with 3 different ideas or 3 different whatever. And then they say, okay, well, which one do you guys want us to refine or
Right.
whatever. So we go back and I collaborate with the teachers, and we're like, oh my God, can we do them all? I mean, and seriously, they are it's like, do we have to really pick one of these? So it's like an endless, I know that what we've done this year, we can probably going to improve it for next year and continue this partnership and continue making it better, like what she was saying. But it's pretty exciting. And what's really cool is that we have like Boonshoft people in our community who's willing to work with, the public schools and different, the Kettering City schools to be able to develop these experiences for our students, because you know what, they're our future. And it's something that is, we find, how important it is for them to be able to see and experience these things and not be bored all day.
Mm-hmm. Well, this to me sounds like the absolute, perfect combination, perfect partnership. Just hearing Chelsea, you talk about all of the things that Boonshoft, I didn't even realize was doing, and then to know that is kind of, as you said, in our backyard and at the fingertips of our teachers and students is a pretty amazing resource for our community. So thank you guys for everything you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to try out some new stuff.
Absolutely.
And I highly
Bern's all
recommend
about
anybody.
that. You're gonna get him to challenge you guys, and then you guys will challenge us right back, and it sounds like
it's fun. And I recommend
win-win.
this to anybody, not just in Kettering, but any school district or anybody listening. Reach out, to Boonshoft, and they are more than willing to just like brainstorm and work together and collaborate. And that's what I find very refreshing.
And that is the STEAM state of mind, for sure.
That's right. Exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you know what? Before we sign off, Coach S, we do have a question from Jennifer that ties right in really with what we're talking about here. We've talked about this wonderful partnership that you have developed and that Boonshoft has jumped right on board with Kettering. Why are these different partnerships that you've been able to establish with so many different types of groups and organizations throughout Kettering and the Miami Valley, why are these so important to STEAM education here in Kettering? And since we're not just talking to Kettering teachers, why is that something that is worthwhile to put an effort into in terms of building those relationships?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm excited to answer it because I just had an experience with a third grade class today, earlier today, where they're engineering these wind turbines and different things. And so it's, we're doing these things, and the students, we had to pause for a moment and say, okay, why? Why are we doing this? What is the impact? What is the whatever? And so the students, initially were talking about all these different things, blah, blah, blah. But a kid, one of the students says, because the engineer that came in, had to solve the same kind of problem. And I'm like, okay, that is just absolutely awesome that, they are making
is that
that
an engineer
connection.
From one of our partners?
Yeah, from one of our partners. Yeah. And so, and that is, so it's like, it's part of our community. It's part of our culture altogether. Like Dayton, Ohio, the whole region, Kettering, we're an innovative community. We really have a lot of things to be proud of things that have happened. And what's really exciting is what's going to be happening. And the learners we have now, they're the ones that are going to be making a lot of these things happen. And, we need, I think that the problem solving and the skills that they are getting from these, learning from these different partnerships, they can see, oh, this is something that gives me purpose and reason for what I'm learning today. This is going to help me be like that, to have a job in that, organization or whatever. And so, we have, partnerships with the Woolpert and all the drones and stuff like that with the University of Dayton Research Institute and all the things that they do with 3D printing and different things. We have partnership with the Kettering Trader Joe's and our food, where our food comes from, and the gardening and all this stuff. We have partnership. I'm going to miss someone, and then they're going to be like, you didn't mention us. We have we have so many different the Modern College of Design. I mean, the things that the art aspect of things is just so fascinating, and how that is integrated within, nobody wants to look at something that somebody did for a purpose of, even like these windmills. Mm-hmm. Like people say they're ugly. I don't want them in my backyard. They're ugly. So how can we artistically look at that in a different way? These people are looking and thinking differently and creatively. But what's so cool about all the different, and I'm sorry, I know I didn't talk about half of them, but is that the learners can look at these businesses and stuff like that, and they realize that this is a future career for me. This is something that I can connect to and give me purpose for what I'm learning today. And that is really powerful. And the other thing is that honestly, these people reinforce what we're trying to tell these students as far as like being a problem solver, how important collaboration is, how important all the portraits of a graduate. They can testify in front of them, and it's much more powerful than a teacher saying it or a principal or something.
When you can actually see it and see the people that are doing the things that you're learning about in the classroom.
Yeah. And why is it so important to work together and collaborate together? Why is it so important to be a problem solver or a critical thinker? These people are bringing it in. It's like, yeah, you guys, you need this. You need this for your future career. So I just think it brings, I don't know if you call it quality. What do you call it? Where, it verifies with what we're trying to do with the people actually doing it, and the students see that. So it's exciting. We have so many great partners in Kettering. One of these days we'll make a list, and so I can, the Dayton Brick Shop and different things like that. So
just stop now because you're going to miss somebody.
I know, I will.
We'll do a whole show maybe on
list.
Partners. Maybe
Yes.
we'll do that one of
That
these
would
days.
be
But
awesome.
anyway, Chelsea, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being such a wonderful, as Bern just said there, in that his little dissertation, being a partner that is so important to not just what kids are learning today, but what they're able to see and who they're going to be in the future. So thank you for being a part of that.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you for having me, and thank you for, again, giving us the opportunity to give back to our community in this way.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. All right. Till next time.
Till next time, this is Esteemed State of Mind from Kettering, Ohio. Thanks for joining us.